So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. When they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? And he cried unto the Lord. And the Lord showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statue and an ordinance, and there he proved them. I want to speak on the subject from Marah to sweetness. From Marah to what? To sweetness. Marah means what? Bitter. Marah means bitter. So how you can transcend from a bitter state to a sweet state? Hello? The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, to everything there is what? A season. People who don't understand the seasons are people who are confused, are people who become easily discouraged, are people who look at others, what they have acquired in life, and they begin to compare themselves with others, and they become despondent because they don't understand their seasons. They don't understand what God is saying to them at a particular time in their lives. The Bible says Israel was in Egypt. There was a season when they were in enslavement. And then all of a sudden, God miraculously intervened and he plagued the Egyptians, and they came out of Egypt. That was another season. Abundantly to understand, and they came to the Red Sea, a challenge in their lives. They look at the Red Sea, it was an insurmountable mountain. But God intervened. God told Moses, stretch forth your hands, do what it is humanly possible for you to do, and I will do the impossible. So Moses stretched forth his hands, and God drove back the Red Sea. And the Bible says when they crossed the Red Sea, watch this, Miriam, the sister of Moses, she was filled with excitement. She saw the miracle. Nobody had ever divided the Red Sea before. It was the first of its miracle. And I want to submit to you this morning, if your problem is the first of its kind, God will give you the first of its kind miracle. So Miriam gathered the women together. She was a prophetess. She gathered the women together, and they began to sing and to dance. They began to rejoice. They sang about God's goodness, God's mercy, God's miraculous intervention, and God's deliverances. They sang, they danced, and they celebrated. Now watch this now. There was another season in their lives. And the Bible says, in verse 21 says, Miriam answered them, singing to the Lord, for he has come gloriously. The horse and his rider has he thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they were 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. That was another season in their lives. They've gone through a season of bitterness, of Marah, when they were in the wilderness, when they were in Egypt. God brought them out of Egypt and they crossed the Red Sea. A season of sweetness. And now the Bible says for 3 days they had no water. And guess what happened? Verse 23. When they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of the place was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses, saying, what shall we drink? What shall we? These were the same people rejoicing earlier on. These were the people who were celebrating the goodness of the Lord. And they forgot that God had brought them out of Egypt. God had miraculously parted the Red Sea. And when they met with this challenge, they were complaining, they were grumbling. How true it is that many of us, too many times, we go through sweetness, we go through bitterness. In the time of sweetness, we rejoice. In the time of sweetness, we celebrate. When we go through bitterness, we complain. We forget that God who took us out of Egypt, God who parted the Red Sea, is able to do exceedingly abundantly. Let me tell you something, church. Whenever you go through problems in life, remember his past deliverance. Remember what you went through many years ago and how God salvaged you from that situation. David said, when he confronted Goliath, Saul said to him, you are a young man, he is an experienced soldier, you can't confront him. David said, let me give you my CV. Maybe you don't know, there was a time in the wilderness as a young man, a lion came and took one of the flock. I pursued the lion, killed the lion, and got the thing out of his mouth. Another occasion also, a bear came and did similar thing. I overpowered the bear, and I got the thing out of his mouth. He said, the God that delivered me from the paws of the lion, from the paws of the bear, he shall deliver me from these uncircumcised Philistines. I'm here to submit to you today. If God delivered you in the past, he will deliver you today. If God has blessed you in the past, he will bless you today. So whenever you go through difficulties, whenever you go through a challenge in life, remember where God has taken you from. Are you still there? You will never know he is a healer until you are sick and doctors have written you off and God came and he healed you. You will never know he's a deliverer until you are in a precarious situation and there's nowhere to turn and there's nobody to turn to. You look left, you look right, there is nobody, and you lift up your eyes unto the hills from whence cometh your help, and God intervene. You will never know it's Jehovah Jireh until you're in a situation where you are broke, you cannot afford to pay your bills, and Jehovah intervene on time. This morning I'm to submit to you that God has never changed. He's the same yesterday, he's the same today, he's the same forever. Put your hands together and celebrate him.